ndithenda endithi ngaba indoda ndasuka ndaqiqa endithi ndithenda endithi ngaba indoda ndasuka ndaqiqa engithi alala engithi alala engithi alala engithi engithi ndithenda endithi ngaba indoda yasuka ndaqiqa engithi ndithenda endithi ngaba indoda yasuka ndaqiqa engithi alala engithi endithi ndithenda endithi ngaba indoda ndasuka ndaqiqa endithi ndithenda endithi ngaba indoda ndasuka ndaqiqa endithi alala endithi
Start a show right there. Welcome to yet another episode of Umbhoxo Review. We are back, and this time we are on YouTube. Those were some nice video shots by our creative director, Tools. So we do thank him. But before we go there, I need to introduce my co-host, Lonabo Soldati.
Rikhona njani Mills?
Oh, Sapila, man, Sapila. Finally, on YouTube.
It's a beautiful day in Namhlanje. We're on this new platform. We've got a great guest lined up. It's excitement all around. So don't be happy. Kakool.
There we go. Let me introduce our guest. Our guest is actually a referee in the national panel. He was the Marriott Referee of the Month in 2014 and 2015. Varsity Shield Final 2016, Junior World Cup. First test match was between Kenya and Hong Kong. AR Curry Cup Final 2016, Women's Six Nations 2017, assistant referee in Super Rugby 2015. And the fun fact about him is that he has SA colors in karate. His name is Cwengile Jadezweni. How are you doing, Ken?
I'm all right, thanks. Uthi yakhondo. Yeah, phila kwecala kunjani bo?
Good. We are happy to actually have you here. We've never had a referee on this show, so it's exciting that you are here to join us today. Hopefully, you'll give us more insight on being a ref and just your rugby acumen as well. So thanks for actually being on the show. Should we jump into it, Doman?
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. I just want to first find out, right, for those that might not know much about refereeing, right? Before we go to the background and all, as I introduced there, your AR Curry Cup final, right? What is an AR? Or what do they do exactly in terms of referees?
So an AR is just short for assistant referee. Yeah, so obviously it's the guy running on the side of the field with the flag, assisting the referee where there'll be some things or ref might not see in terms of offside, um, when the ball goes into touch, etc., etc. But that role is very limited.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And let's just go to your background before we actually start with the referee and everything, right? I believe that you were a rugby player yourself back in the days. Born in Stellenbosch. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, believe it or not, I once upon a time, ndandiyifly off ne-center echisayo. I had aspirations of playing provincial rugby and super rugby one day, but unfortunately, izinto ezinjalo, they don't happen because of, certain things. But yeah, I spent most of my life eStellenbosch. Utata wafika eStellenbosch in 1982 eyofunda eStellenbosch University esuka eFort Hare. Thina ke singaba sedutywa ngapha kwicala laseBholotho eTranskei. So utata wafika ngo-1982, and ngo-1986 he was the first black lecturer at Stellenbosch, the year that I was born. So we spent most of our lives at Stellenbosch.
Ubufundaphi mfondini?
Ndifunda kwisikolo ekuthiwa yi-Parallel Fillet Somerset West. And then from there, obviously, ndayofunda Stellenbosch University, Matis. And that's where I applied my rugby. Bendidlala neNkosi pha kulaa league yakhona. And funny enough, that's where my refereeing career started.
Okay,
Kulaa league yeNkosi pha eStellenbosch.
100%. Okay.
I believe you also
Yeah.
suffered a fatal injury, which is what actually made you go into being a ref. Is that true?
Well, the first injury I had was to my shoulder. And then I had an operation, but in between kuyonke le rugby kukho nekarati, and nalapho
Okay.
ndophuka oobhontsi, iba yiloo mix. And then thereafter ndaba ne-injury elidolweni. Sidlala i-warm-up match as pre-season games. Kulapho ke elaa dolo that took me out after that operation. Ndabona uba you know what, ndizophela ndikwi-wheelchair ngoku mandikhe ndime.
100%. Okay.
Which means you're really passionate about the game for you to actually pick up the whistle and and go officiate the actual game itself. How did that come about? I mean, obviously you were playing the courses, probably had your injuries or whatever, but how did you make the decision to say, let me pick up the whistle and actually officiate the game?
So before the ref ndakhe ndazama ucoacha. Ndabona uba no, it's too stressful. It's way too stressful for your personality. Andakwazi. And then with any courses, kukho
So coach ayiphi team qala?
no, ndandicoacha phaa ilantuka i-primary schools phaa eStellenbosch ne-juniors kwaphaa kwi-courses.
One more question. Was your coaching record the same as Mandela's boxing record?
Oh, ulenzani Diba? Yeah, no, my coaching journey didn't last long. But I must admit it didn't last long at all. Ayiyona nto endinoyifaka kwi-CV. Yeah, so kwakho omnye umfo kuthiwa nguHendrik Gravenstein pha eStellenbosch pha kwi-Kosas League. Nguye ke owaye charge wayephethe pha osompempe bapha. Ndam-approacha ba mfondini ndifuna uyizama le way but andikabikho sure, ndifuna nje ubona uba ndingakwazi uyibetha na. I remember I think for about 4 months oko ndimdoja oko manisithi mfondini yiza and you know ilaa nto ka back then i-Kosas League zazi-leagues eziyi-5. So
Yeah,
every single day kubakho imatch, every
sure.
single day kugcwale kuthiwe ebaleni. Eyi ndiyidoda le nto ndiqoba yeyi 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 yeyi. Nam I used to be one of those spectators who used to stand by ecaleni. Eyi
And
ndigxeke
chirp
phaa.
the ref. We used to chirp the
Yho,
ref.
yho,
Yeah.
yho. So ngoku izawuba igame yam. Eyi ndayidoda le chap for about 4 months up until yena on a Tuesday wandifowunela endixelela uba today uzoyorefa iKosas at 5 o'clock, be there. Oh, ndazama ndathi hayi iibhutsi andinazo. Wathi no, don't worry, ndizokunika iibhutsi ndinazo mind you. Ndathi oh okay fine,
Cheers.
it's fine, but impemba nayo. Wathi no, ndinazo phaya ofisini zigcwele, yiza. Hayi ke ndaya nyhani and yeah, I refereed my first game and funny enough kuloo match le Kosas, one of my colleagues apha egrefeni, he was the captain of the other team.
Mm, mm.
So yeah, no, it was an interesting game because
Yeah.
ndandingazithembanga tu. So every decision I made ndiba ngayijonga ndiba ndithi hey mfondini ngoncedisa, yiyo na nyhani iphendule.
All right.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I'm a coach. I'm a rugby coach, right?
Mhm.
But I find being a ref is actually more stressful than actually coaching. So it's weird that you say that coach are stressful more than officiator.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a couple of refereeing myself, but hey, I never actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because the pressure that you get with it is just a lot. But tell us just more on the coach. I mean, not on the coaching side, sorry, on the referee side of things, right? So you pick up your first whistle, you obviously officiate your first game, right? Best friends on the field, you have to make interesting calls, you know. And then how did you pick that momentum up from there? How did you decide actually this is a career, let me go for it?
So basically from there, I continued refereeing within i-system yapha ematis kwi-Kosas. So le chap uHendrik le bendixela ngayo lo owayephethe osompempe pha, he identified very quickly ba ingathi ikhona into apha, so masimpushe. The refereeing, as a player, you've got drills that you do, you scrum against each other, etc., etc. That's match day simulation. And then
Yeah.
on a Friday or Saturday, you execute. With us, ayikho laa nto uba ndizosimuleyitha imatch ndithini. The only way you can simulate is if usebaleni and you need to referee and make those mistakes. So
Yeah.
nam ke ndarefa from Monday to Friday within i-Kosas, and then on Saturday ndihambe ndiyorefa kwisikolo, or under 14A, or under 15B, or under 16C, and then from there uhambe uyorefa i-third team game yakho, and then you run touch for the first team main game. So that's how.
Kalubuza. Sorry to interrupt. I'm
No worries.
always gonna interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. It's no offense. It's just nature.
No,
Yeah.
no, no.
So tell me, when you were refing at Kosas League, were you getting paid?
So kwi-Kosas yayiba khona imali oyibhatalwayo per match, but
Yeah.
ibhatalwa yi-university, and nalapho ibhatalwa only at the end of the year. Xa seyiphelile i-season.
My reason for asking is we had Inga Croy on the show 2 weeks
Yes.
back, and she explained how, you know, in your first years and your second years of physiotherapy, what you need to do is go out there and help in your local community. Go
Yeah.
out there and help your local whatever, just to get the experience. And for me, I'm thinking to myself, yes, it would have been great to get paid in varsity because money is everything in varsity. I mean, like student budget is everything. But I also wouldn't be surprised if whether you went through this out of just the passion that was just ignited in you, and you went on this and you couldn't get enough of refing, hence you would ref your courses games Monday to Friday. You're under 14, under 15 Bs and the third because the bag had bitten you and you couldn't get enough of it. And based on that foundation is what made you lead to grow more. So that's what I was asking. Was the payment thing in the beginning, but it wasn't. It wasn't a driving factor. Now we are. Payment only came at the end of the year. Passion drove you in your first as you're starting off. So I get that.
Yeah. I mean, it only came at the end of the year now. Club rugby, because you're a volunteer, you know, you don't actually get paid. So, you know, they subsidize for fuel yakho, for expenses yakho, but nalapho
Sure.
is only at the end of the year.
Sure.
Apho where you get paid directly is if you do, you know, a school game, an under 14 or an under 15, you know, as a scholar because they invited you. So bazokubhatala ngalo cash, but nalapho,
100%.
you know, nalapho it's just, you know, 100 rand or, you know, low 50 rand. So
100%.
yeah, so ibihamba kanjalo, and as a result, kule nto uyithethayo, nam ndafuna more experience. So I joined up with Helderberg Rugby Club. You know, abemane bengicela ba sicela uzosincedisa with the-laws and i-breakdown xa sipractice on a Tuesday. So mna ndayibona as an opportunity loo nto for uba I need to learn more about the game
For
and,
sure.
you know, understand how players think. You know, iyanceda loo nto kakhulu as a referee.
That's also forward thinking. That's what I actually really like about Western Cape as a whole, you know, because you learn a lot of things. Tell you a funny story. Again, I be on the East call in Western Cape. The patalong and nip, but masiyega, masiyega, masiyega. So yeah, it's quite interesting that they actually pay, you know. And weirdly, you know, I coach because I know the pressure that the ref actually gets prior because, and so often I find out that, you know, they're actually starting out their career, you know,
Yeah,
which is kind of better unfair on them that we give them all the slack because hey, sometimes in most cases, you know, it's tough being a coach under those circumstances where you lose by
exactly.
small margins of calls that you thought that could have went your way, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that passion, like Ulonabo said, to continuously go and referee each game Monday to Friday, I think it's something that youngsters can actually take, you know, especially if they want to start out their referee career, basically. But now I want to go to the actual regulation side of it and the paper side of it, you know.
Yeah.
You start out obviously because the AC Helderberg calls you. How do you do it when it comes to referees? I know like with coaching you get to level 1, 2, and 3, right? And obviously with depending on which one you're going for, will depend on how it's structured, you know.
Yeah.
With referees, how does that work? Is there a level 1 referee course that you go through that you have to pass, or how does it go about?
Yeah, so before you can even you know, be affiliated with e society, like, you know, a Western province okanye board okanye EP, you have to wenze level 1, i-World Rugby level 1 course, which is, you know, your introduction to refereeing, iyafana ne coaching, and with that wenza i-box smart. Without
Oh,
those two,
that's
without those two,
something I really hate with a passion, but okay.
yeah, without those two, you can't do anything. And then just like with the coaching, you know, you get invited to do in level
Level 3
two work.
or 2.
Yeah, when they identify, but okay, you know what, there is potential up, and World Rugby might recognize this as a potential referee for the future. So
Okay. just on that point, sorry, before you carry on, sorry to barge in. On that point, like, what does it take for someone to be invited? As a referee, is it because of the work that you've done that speaks for itself? Then World Rugby, well, say SA Rugby, for instance, will say this guy has done a
Jonge
stellar
Max
job.
zakho Mills. Ngiyakupasa la level 1. She get 80 and above, back checkisha below 80 uyimampara.
Well, it wasn't pass. Everyone can pass level 1, but when do you get called for level 2? You have to officiate games. I'm guessing like, the many games that you officiate, then that's when they actually see, oh, this guy is actually doing a stellar job. Can I be said?
Yeah. And ke kuthi ilanduka iba broad ilanduka level 2 wethu. It's not just, as a match official. You can go into referee coaching,
Yeah.
for TMOing, for
Yeah.
e-performance reviewing, etc., etc. So zonke ezo zinto they will take into consideration before nominating abantu abathile. So when SA Rugby, they can see, okay, you know what, out of the 10 referees that we have as, these amateurs, potentially 4 of them could reach, tier 3 test matches, tier 2, and 1 can potentially reach, tier 1. So they need to identify. So, like I said, in the sense that all the work behind me with working with teams and as clubs, jalo njalo, and showing like enthusiasm,
Yeah.
counted in my favor.
I was about to say there must be that extra edge. Like you working with teams, they see, oh, there's actually an effort here. Let's
Yeah,
invite this guy. Okay. Sorry to
yeah,
break it, but yeah, I was saying that like I think as a youth, right, which is what you alluded to, it's not just about going and officiating things, but look for something else that you can do that helps your resume as a referee.
yeah,
Whether it's helping a team out, to being a team analyst with the laws and everything. Whether it's getting your hands on the pipe, being
yeah.
educated to do the job.
Yeah, and yazi, now one thing that I learned while working with teams, availing myself, I like mna ndiyakwazi udriver ndidlala eSomerset, ndiyakwazi udriver whenever the Stormers they have a session, bathi base-Greenpoint or wherever, I'll go. I-SA under-20s, when they've got these sessions zabo, I will avail myself. And izinto ezinjalo, because word goes around. It's thina sicinga uba abantu abathethi, sicinga uba coach abathethi,
Mm.
they speak among themselves. And izinto ezinjalo, kuthiwa hayi, yabo lo mfo i-work rate yakhe i-high. No-work rate, work ethic yakhe i-good. So, why not?
So
No,
that explains how someone can grow within the relevant structures. So for me, when I was drafting the questions and about like going through the different structures and the pay structures at each level, my thinking behind that was, for all the youngsters who get an injury in first year or in matric, and rugby was their whole lives, and now their lives have actually come to an end because they've gotten this injury. I wanted to dive into those details just to show these guys that, listen, and it's perfect. Like you share a similar story with them, that you were there, you played the sport, you loved the sport, you had the ambitions, but injury played its part. That there is still a way you can stay close to the action and it can be worth your while. But like I think to go through each of these levels, cover whatever, and discuss payment structures, I think it's going to be taking up too much of your time when you've got so much more knowledge to give us. But I would like to just maybe say, well, any youngster that does watch this, they should reach out to you and maybe you can take them through it. What I will say is I was sitting with a friend of mine, and so I'm busy telling my friend that we're going to be interviewing you, Namhlanje, and so forth. And he told me something strange, and he was like, the weird thing is, when you've got an SA Rugby ref contract, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, you report to SA Rugby head offices at Plata Cliff. Is that true?
So iyaxhomekeka ba i-contract yakho ithini.
Niyothini pha 8 to 5 mfondini?
Kaloku yile ndithethayo uba what's stipulated in your contract. Yabona mna when I first came on board kwa-SA Rugby and uba ububonile ke laa nto kwibhayo yam, it stated uba I was an analyst kwa-Soundshare.
Yes, yes. I wanted to
So
ask more about that, but okay.
yeah,
Go further.
so within Ilandoka, my experience as the analyst, SA Rugby said, okay, fine, you know what? Because zokunika i-contract, so you top her up. However, funeke uyeke lo msebenzi, uzosebenza apha xa sikunida as well as an analyst kwaSARA. So sometimes, umuntu angene on a Monday because bekudlalwa ilandoka i-rugby over the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, uyazi ugqibile. And then the rest of the week, akho nto yenzayo. But ayikho into estipulate ba, ibophelelayo ethi ba you have to be there from 8 until
Hey,
5 every
when do you
day.
think like what are you gonna do Monday to Friday 8 to 5 call? Obviously, like Jani. That was
Yeah,
wild for me.
yeah. No, but ilandoka, i-contracts zethu
They
ilandoka,
differ.
they differ, and ziba khona i-stipulations ezitshoyo ba okay uzonideka PPP,
Yeah, yeah.
for as umzekelo ngoku mna I've now moved more onto i-mentorship and coaching. So xa ezintwana ze-SA under 20s preparing for ii-tournaments ezithile, I'll be there. Izoba ndim umntu assigned nalo team, as well as the SA woman. But nalapho ucolleague wam Amy Barrett
Yeah,
naye
ndiyambona.
incedisa napha so
Amy Barrett's dope.
yeah, very, very
She's
dope.
dope.
Yeah, and it ties up with le role ezodlalwa nguYaku Paper ngoku.
That was a question
Awesome.
that's coming up later.
It's coming up. It's coming up. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Just before we move on to the interesting part of it, I want to find out quickly from your side, right? Just obviously for, let's say, audience that don't know much, but are big rugby enthusiasts, fans, in terms of the referee career, what do you get, or which part can you actually go into? I know you get your main ref, your AR, your assistant refs, your TMOs, your analysts. I'm pretty sure there's more to that as well. If you can just maybe give us a quick breakdown on basically the different career paths that one could get into when it comes to referee.
So, uchanile in terms of, the assistant refereeing. Dala yayikhona i-panel ekuthiwa i-AR panel. And those guys strictly did work as assistant referees. England, with Premiership, they still have that. Thina apha eMzantsi asinayo. Thina senza zonke, we will AR, we will TMO, we will referee, we will do a bit of coaching so that i-experience and knowledge yakho ingapheleli apha nje ebaleni, so that mhlawumbi one day kuthiwa okay, you know what, JD, ugqibile ngoku, i-pathway yakho is through TMOing. Ndiyazi uba okay, you know what, I've done TMOing in the past, so ndinayo lo experience ye-TMOing. Ndingafiki phaa ndibe nditatazela, kube kunzima, funeka uqalelwe ekuqaleni, and then amathuba amke nje kanjalo. Bese kuthiwa hayi, ukhona omnye umntu yena kudala eyenza le TMOing, kho ungene. So ziba khona ilantuka i-pathways through TMOing, through coaching of young match officials, through performance reviewing. So abantu abaninzi, they actually, banalanto ba or referee, they just ref on a Saturday and then Mabiko Nix. No. Kukho abantu bathiwa zii-performance reviewers.
But
Bona-
sorry to interrupt. Back in the days, could be a lawyer Monday to Friday, and then Saturday ayo refa.
Yes.
That's where the stereotype comes from, because we see our friends are accountants, but on the weekends they ref. Yeah, but and if you go
Yes,
back,
yes, yes.
and if you go even further back, before rugby players were actually professional, rugby players used to have professions.
Yeah.
And then they'd play rugby on weekends. So that's where that stereotype comes from.
Yeah. No, 100%. And, with, the moment you get contracted, that
That's
means
the
you're
change.
full-time. So
Yeah.
now your focus is on, being solely a match official. Yes, ungabanayo into ecaleni, but solely you are a match official. Therefore, 8 to 5 wakho usejimini. You're upskilling yourself in terms of rugby laws,
Yeah.
game knowledge, your nutrition, zonke ezo zinto, you need to be game ready for when the time comes.
100%.
So yeah, yatshintsha loo nto. Just to go back on le nto performance reviewers. So I think what every referee hates the most, apart from, as our post-match interviews, and then your face is all over headlines. That's probably the least of our worries. Performance
Yeah.
reviewers, they dissect every single decision that you make and every decision that you did not make. And then ube score. So if your score is below, let's say 96%, that means your performance was not good enough.
Out of 100.
Yeah. And therefore yeah. Because I mean, one error can cost a team
A World Cup.
Again, it can cost the game, it can cost careers, and fully totally World Cup because I developed no PR.
Wait. I'm sorry. I have to ask. How on God's green earth does and the 2011 Springboks versus Australia? How did that ref ever get to ref ever a game after that shocking game where he just didn't call Australia at all the second half? What's his name again?
Oh, Bryce Lawrence.
Jesus. Yeah. Strike one. Strike two, we go to the first test, SA versus British and Irish Lions. And I mean, Rassi did a video about that. I don't know how many calls were not made there. 37 calls. I don't know how many calls. How do people like that still have jobs after Evelyn Jalo of their performance reviews?
Is it the same ref though?
No. One was Bryce Lawrence. I think it was Nick Burial or someone Burial. It was some punk.
What
that did
if you was
SA versus British
off and then he made that one bad call? Are you not gonna call him off and say no, you can't ref again?
No, but Mamela, based on the 96% who JD is talking about, certain refs should really get expelled from tier 1, because I'm making Bryce Lawrence as an example, and my second example is the guy that did the first test of the Springboks and the British Isles test. It was shocking calls. Another one is SA versus Ireland, not the World Cup one, 2 years before the World Cup when they beat us, but it was just a shocker after shocker after shocker of decisions. Like, how did they coach again if good performance reviews?
So after your performance review yakho, obviously uyayifumana report yakho and kuvezwe ilana ke-shortcomings zakho. But okay, JD, you need to work on, let's say
Scrums.
Scrums, right? namhlanje i-shortcoming yakho busy scrums.
Sure.
So you need to go back to the drawing board. Funeka kube khona ilantuka, i-work-ons that you are given before uphinde ubuyele ebaleni.
Sure.
It's not like uzogxotha completely. No. Abakwazi ukugxotha. I mean, at the end of the day, uqeshiwe apha.
Yeah, you're under contract, yeah.
So funeka kube khona i-remedial efakwayo before kuthiwe, okay, you know what, ingxaki khona. So nakulo case yango-2011, yaba khona ke i-remedial action after yonke loo nto. Yes, i-team iluzile and what have you not, but funeka kube khona i-remedial course before ubuyele ebaleni. So it's not like,
Yeah,
okay, you had a blunder, now umkile.
It would be totally unfair if we were extra out. First time your plan is like, actually, you know what, cutting you off.
Yeah.
So,
No, look, I'm not saying you lose your contract. What I'm trying to say is a blunder like Bryce Lawrence, he shouldn't be able to coach an international game. He should be delegated. He should be relegated down to Super Rugby, URC, Heineken Cup kind of vibe to go fix his mistakes there. You know what I mean? But I would hate to see him in an international team soon after it will cost us Ganjalo. You know what I mean? That shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, so by the international level, let's say, you know, yeah, soccer law match, for example, and because I've spoken with Bryce and one of his colleagues, Babe Kunye Pagla World Cup in 2011. There's a reason why that match went a certain way, but
Why?
Let's call up. Must move along. If Likone
Set me free.
I know
JP, set me free.
it's a weird cool. So obviously it World Cup iphelile, right? Let's say it's 2011. This happened, the semi-final, bam, iphelile, right? In order for him, aphinda abuyele back, he has to go and referee Super Rugby, like you said, your New Zealand Mitre Cup.
Yeah.
So that's your remedial course before ubuyele back.
Good. I'm happy to hear
at
that.
international. So ziba khona into ezinjalo so that ukwazi ukulungisa. Umzekelo mna kwi-URC, if I have, you know, a poor performance, kuzothiwa emfondini kakubuyele back phaa kwa-first division okanye apha kwi-Currie Cup first division or i-2020 Cup, ukhe ulungise ubuyele ilanto i-confidence yakho mayibe back at where it was.
But JD, when are you actually gonna ref the World Cup? I mean, how's that looking? How's that journey looking? You know, because I mean, when I hear about you, I've never heard anyone that speaks ill of you or any call that you've done wrong. You know, from the group of people that I stay with, I've never seen you touch anything wrong. You know, there might be one or two that can come out, but for my side, that's what I know. How's that journey looking? How tough is it?
Mills, don't be biased. Don't be biased, Mills. Don't be biased. JP's had a shocker.
Give me a game.
Oh, yo, guys, bandibalisela ngemumisho entsike ndazenze ebaleni, yo. So andisoze believe it. But because of, you know, go back to laa nto bendiyithetha of, you know, working with teams, you know, people actually see the human side to a referee. And they don't just think about lo mntu robot uzofika apha azobeka umthetho athini. But if you know, if you interact with the players, you interact with the coaches, then they'll see the human side of you. So noba wenze iblunder, abasoze bathethe ngayo. Basoze bathethe.
Sure, because humans make mistakes, you know?
You know, bazothi, no, okay, look, yeah, there's no sin at the time, but it's fine. We move on.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So
Brings me. Wait,
that's what
I'm not gonna forget the Bryce Lawrence story, but you've just taken my mind to another stage. So the question that I had for you was, ref and player relationships, because one that I know quite well is Jaco Paper and Yanni du Plessis are good friends. Come on. Now I'm just thinking of what you've just said of, ref and coaches, and the question behind all of that was going to be, one, how does that influence well, look, before I spoke to you today, I always thought biasness can influence some of the calls you make and calls you don't make, but I've just seen that there's a metric in place that you get called for, you get reviewed in all the calls you make and all the calls you didn't make. So if you've got a biasness towards the team and you don't call it offsides and you don't call hands in the rack it counts against you. So my question becomes less meaty, because I'll go back to a previous interview we had with Inga, where I was asked, in relationship that she has with players whereby they don't want to come back from injury or they want to come back early from injury, how does it influence your job? And this is where I'm going with this question as well. If you've got a very good relationship with Double, and you hate Jake White because Jake White wrote a scathing report about you after the Bulls lost to the Stormers. Now, when they play again, you're like, here's this idiot that blew me up in his post-match conference. I'm not gonna be nice to his team on the field. Come on.
Yeah.
So so my question is, it's no longer, is there such a thing? My question now is, how do you navigate that and stay impartial?
Yeah. That's actually a very, very good question. And izinto ezinjalo can have a big impact on a career yakho. So, like you said, you alluded to the fact that, there's performance reviews. So I know, but in order for me, defeat the World Cup, this journey, I need to go through a Curry Cup. I need to make sure, I'm number one with Curry Cup in order for me, ndingene ku-URC. And if I'm number one ku-URC, ndizongena ku-EPCR. Ku-EPCR, the pathway to a World Rugby towards the dream of a World Cup. So if I know now I've got 5 matches with Curry Cup, that's 5 opportunities. So out of the 5, I need to have 4 good performances in order to be considered for playoffs. Umzekelo. So if I have a bad report on 2 or 3 of those games because Big Bang beaten Jake White,
you didn't
leave it. You did. So now you have to wait another year before Upino Nigolo opportunity to Curry Cup again. So that you prove yourself, you fit. So ube nalando gosh, Lomjita lo one post-match interview. It flies out the window. The moment Umbalega on bra, I'm telling you, things happen like this. They happen so quickly. I mean, as a referee, we make over 1,000 decisions in a game.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is hectic stuff, huh?
So a decision to blow your whistle, that's 1. A decision not to blow your whistle, that's 2. Ubone infringement, but say and you realize there's actually no impact on the game. That's another decision. You carry on.
Split-second decision.
Yeah.
She was. I think maybe had a question between referee and player friendship.
Yeah, that was it. You know what? I'm gonna slightly deviate a bit, JD Raz. I'm gonna slightly deviate a bit. My favorite book I've read my whole entire life is called Unconscious Bias, right?
Yeah.
That book explains how we make over 2 million decisions a day. And it's basically humanly impossible for the human brain to process all 2 million decisions. So what it does is it compartmentalizes a lot of things, and the brain creates certain safe havens. Now, that's like, for an example, you as a person, whether you're white, black, whatever, we are all biased to think that when we see a 2-meter tall, blonde, blue-eyed guy, we automatically think he's smart.
Yeah.
You know, automatically when we like, you know, like when corporates hire, what are they looking for? You know, that's a bias. When you're looking for someone to handle your money or whatever, you want someone's glasses or an accountant or whatever, that's a bias.
Yeah.
And a person with eyes and curly hair and rasta hair could look after your money better. So the greatest book I've read in my life is Unconscious Bias. And I mean, like, I like your story. I like you mentioned your story. So if ever I would see you and I had to give you anything, I'd actually give you this book to read or buy it for you. Or go buy it for yourself. And that's when I'll see you again. The one time I've only ever seen you in my life was at the 10th. No, Andre Pa, if you remember. Cape Town 10th.
Cape Town 10s, yes.
Yeah, so that's me that went to greet to Andre. And then but if ever I to see you again, and I hope I do see you again, maybe I'll invite you to an Umbhoxo function or something. And if you ever confirm you're coming, I'll buy you that book. That book changed my life. That's the best book I've ever read. And I think it would add value to you in terms of clearing your mind going into every single game, yes? But if you do get this book before, come across it, it's called Unconscious Bias.
Okay.
Sorry to deviate, but back to this rugby chat.
No, 100%. Mna ke ndathanda ulanda uthenga incwadi. So I'm off to Gauteng for the match URC Lions. So ndizobhetha phaya elantikeni khona la bookshop right next to Wimpy. Ndiyathanda uthenga incwadi.
Yeah.
So ndizokhe ndiyikhangele.
Unconscious Bias. Hold on, let me get the cover for you. Give me a second.
Right.
Let me also give you the logo.
This is
Okay. Then can I born?
that's not look. Get it? Book changed my life. But anyways, yeah, back to rugby. Let's go.
I think Namza Ibamalo. I just wanted to read a little bit. Spoke mostly about being a ref, the hardships of being a ref. Obviously, also the road of being a ref as well. What one needs to become a professional ref, and also the skill set of being a ref. But now I want to find out just obviously you're not just a ref, you're also a sports, what can I call, a rugby enthusiast, if I can put it that way. I want to find out from you quickly. There was a alignment camp team that was picked by Rassi Rasmussen in coaching stuff. What are your thoughts there? Firstly, I want you to note basically who you're happy to see in that team.
So now personally, it's always a nice thing to see the youngsters come through, right? Like I say, like I've been saying throughout, I've been, working with the 820s. So you see the players that come through. I mean, Kumla, when was it? In 2016, Dandier Junior World Cup as a referee in Manchester. Usanele Nohamba, he was part of that squad. And the year thereafter. So Kawubona progress, these are for alignment camps, like, and you feel good, and dala manje sibona izintwana like kokulanduka lonabo sithi ba Danhle no-Andre phakwi dance ngumuntu naye endisuka umbona from the junior ranks, and now xa umbona elanduka emenywa kwezi camps, zizinto ezikhuthazayo ezo.
Beautiful story to
see. Yeah.
I think for me also I just enjoy seeing that a lot of youngsters got some chances. But the biggest shocker for me that I need to speak about is Hakiva Daima not being picked. I don't understand what's the behind it. The alignment camp is not really the box squad. I've heard that too many times. But when you have a team like an alignment squad, that basically means you are saying this is the bunch that I'm looking to for the future. I mean, Akiva is only 26 years old. How many men of the matches has he gotten from the US? For me, it was just the biggest shocker. I mean, it's Rusty. Can't question him. He's a genius at what he does. He understands what he's doing. But for a guy like Akiva, I feel gutted for him. But at the same time, I know for sure that that guy will carry on performing like a beast up until he gets that call up, you know. But yeah, happy with the alignment team. Your thoughts, Lloyd?
My thoughts. I wanted to hear JD's thoughts first, but I'll give my thoughts. It's fine, not change smash. Look, I know there's a lot of in Russia's nature. There's a lot of mental mind games, right, to get the best out of players. There's mind games, and also there's issues. Well, let me explain the mind games. Even Russ, in his first season, I think he won every award there was to win at the RC. He still wasn't picked for alignment camps. And then the very next game, after the alignment camp squad was not announced, even Russ had a monster of a game. And Rassi went on his Twitter and said, that's how you do it. You don't get picked, you go back harder, and you show them. You give them no option but to pick you. And it's a test of your mental strength, of how badly do you want this jersey. Rassi knows the value of this jersey. He knows it. Yeah. He won it himself. He earned it himself. He knows how sad it was when he lost it himself. You understand that? So look, Anfunum Tetelela, yes, you said that he's a genius and all, but when it comes to the Daimani example, it's like, look, he's got to think about the team chemistry. A character, not Daimani, will it be disruptive or will it be great in a box camp? You understand? Because the box have got their certain values that they live by. They've got their code that they live by. You understand that? And I mean, for me, Daimani in the past 2 seasons, no one's got more man of the match awards than him. You understand that? He definitely needs to be there. But will he fit into the team? Is the question for me. Because here's another question. Ufasi is probably the best 15 in the country this year. Well, look, yeah, Damien Williams is there. Damien Williams is sharp, but we know Damien Williams is a freak. Ufasi is back to form, playing the best rugby of his life. But we all know Ufasi, what took the coaches against the second test of Bloemfontein Klanyat, and then actually leave camp. Now, when you're busy building a team to be the first team in world rugby history to win 3 World Cups back-to-back.
I need to go back and also. You said we'll not achieve up with the best fit for the Springboks. In terms of what? Just because maybe have patches and has pink hair doesn't mean doesn't fit into the team. In terms of what? Are you talking about his attitude? I want to understand that question.
So you must look at the box I look at the box as an entity. Let me maybe not make it a race thing. One of the worst coaches ever for the Springboks was 1997, a guy by the name of Harry Viljoen. Good to you. When Harry Viljoen went overseas with box trips, he didn't give a shit about coaching. He was more interested in buying fashion. Now, Harry Viljoen is a very wealthy guy that coached Province to Currie Cup glory in 1997. Then he became a box coach. And at the end of year 2, that year the box were useless, but he was more interested in fashion. So his mind was not on the box and what the box are about. And that's why the box were useless. You understand that? Harry Viljoen was a shit coach. You understand? In that scheme. Let me look at another character that was a very contentious character. Bobby Skinstad. Nah? Bobby Skinstad was a very flamboyant player. And the Springboks were not flamboyant, Yellow Clash. Springboks are like an Afrikaans, a little Afrikaans tribe, that's very conservative in nature. Let me leave with Bobby because Bobby merged those two worlds quite nicely. A proper one is Luke Watson. Well, Luke Watson said he'll puke in a Springbok jersey, but then he'd go and play the best rugby out of any sport in the country. But he was not picked because you cannot say, I'll puke on a Springbok jersey, and then how are your teammates supposed to look at you?
But you know what's wonderful about what you said? All those players and coaches that you mentioned actually played for the Springboks, regardless of what issue you actually gave. Chiva hasn't.
Chiva will definitely be a Bok. Make no mistake, between Wales and Portugal, Chiva will get his cap. It's what he does when he's there. That's going to determine does he get 10, 50, or 80 caps. Because it's like a crime to not pick even Roos when Roos was playing the way he was playing. It was a crime. That's why he was picked. There was a time where Rasi could not explain why Fasti was on tour but didn't play. He pre-match team announcements, and post-match were like, I remember Jack Ninaba was assistant coach. He was lying to the world why Fasti didn't get a game at the end of year 12. He was basically lying to us. Because Fasti by us that much. He will get a Wales or a Portugal game. You understand? Just like Ufasi got a Georgia game, when you're still at Chisape. You understand that? But Ufasi, what took is senior management out of pure frustration. Wales, Bloemfontein test, and he's never been in the camp again. Simply Sikuza, Utaimani, but it's Aker van der Merwe. He's the number one hooker with Bulls. Number two, the number three have been selected to go to the camp. Johan Grobler, no Jan Hendrik van Wessels. What does that say to Aker, who's better than them with Bulls, but he's not picked? Just because Aker what in Dabazak. So there's a mental game of like, if you really want this, prove it with your game. So come on, but these guys will get their chances in Nakanja. Like, you cannot deny your Aker. Aker's got like 8 tries this season. Something ridiculous like that. I believe the best hooker is Andre Hugo Venter. He's in the camp. But if I had to pick a Springbok team outside of Bongi, Bonambi, and Malcolm Marx, my hooker is Aker above Andre Hugo. Even though Andre Hugo is the best hooker, like clinical. But what Aker brings is just next level. But yeah, maybe I'll start Andre and finish Aker, or maybe start Aker and finish Andre, depending on the team I'm playing. But those are my top 2 hookers in the country right now. But Aker's not in the squad.
Ngulube has been there before, isn't it?
He's been there before, sure. But I mean, we might be drifting off. Daimani will get a bot cap, Nakanjan.
Okay, cool. Look, Chris.
Let's
bring it back to earth.
No, Ilanduga, it's actually quite interesting, Ilanduga, unmamela and listen to the dynamics, because Namdi can shine this thing Ilanduga is but what could be the reason why Hachiva is not being picked? Diazbuza Nam, and then the is cool, but he's back on the outside. DT, okay, let me look at how the Bok team is. Dijonge, abantu bafana noDwayne, abantu bafana noSiya. Like, going back to what Tuluna was saying about behavior injani. Will behavior can be disruptive within the system? Yes or no? Because I mean, he's got too much energy, so low energy, who knows? Up until he's actually there. So the time is strong trouble.
So 10-1.
Fair enough. And I don't believe until them got a club coaches, but I go away.
He will get his buck cap when he'll definitely get his buck cap.
Let us slide. But overall, I'm happy around, and I'm happy with the alignment team. I think it's a good thing that we bring in youngsters, especially if we're looking at the future of South Africa, not just in the next World Cup, but beyond that.
Yes.
So I think it's just a great thing that Uras is doing, is looking beyond just 2027. I mean, most of those guys are 23 years old and younger, so that's good, what the box is about, and also just to work towards being consistent in that jersey as well. Not all of them will obviously make it, but few calls or a few of them that actually will be nice. Yeah, Cameron Anakop, yes.
Hi, you mango Hamra Dimamelusia Usia says, Ukolis says he's got 5 more years he can perform for the Bucks. The chap.
Hey, bro, I perform on mine, honestly.
Hey, right, the chap.
I mean, look, we've seen this movie before. We saw Scott Briggs at the age of 37. We saw John Perry, age of 36. We saw Dwayne Vermeulen.
Dwayne was useless at the last World Cup, though. Dwayne was useless.
There's much more to you just being a player and actually being the impact player that you used to be. Yeah, but some of the bare minimum average that you do on the field is enough for your age when it comes from the final.
Oh, if you're hitting your run against England to semi-final and the final, Dwayne,
it's a lie, coach, so surely there's something that no matter what you say, it doesn't matter.
But now, are we gonna take Usia, who'll be like 37, and hope to do the three-peat? Whereby we good time, man, which is a bear. Go Cameron Hanako, which is a bear. But what you do about is a bear. Come on.
Yo, that chases and
to be quite honest, I wouldn't look that far with Usia, right? I love how he's performing right now, and I'll say he must just continue hitting that top performance, right? And hopefully also fix it up in the national box jersey as well. Obviously there's a lot of talent coming through, and only time will tell whether he can actually make that team or not. You know, Absolutely love the guy, fan of the guy, what he's done. I was inspired the entire nation, especially Barabeka,
That's
from his humble ground and everything. But I mean, it'll be nice for him to get a three-peat as well. Wouldn't that be just, greatest
yeah.
skipper of all time? If I let you beat Chini and a normal core, but that's what for it.
Makabe ku squad, not ku starting, man.
Yeah, it's full alone. Because squad, regardless, I feel, man. I mean, if you've got a relationship, call it through Ura. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
if Jane can do it, you can do it. So we tell Pa Loras. Next thing we know.
Enze lanto Dwayne ebeyenza ngoba coach's box.
Yeah, it's an experience thing. But let's bring it back to life. I want to bring JT in. When it comes to mentorship, from referee side, right? I mean, we've had a great referee, obviously Ukritilagok, is no longer a ref at a national stage.
Yeah, thanks.
But when it comes to mentorship with people like that who are in the setup, how does that work? Are they really there making sure that the youngsters or upcoming referees are actually playing their part?
So Umzekelo yena, he's been doing the mentorship role for a very long time.
Nice. That's nice.
Yeah, he's been doing it for, I think his first World Cup. He's had a couple of referees under his wing, mentors, and then obviously some of the referees, they make it to whatever level and then they become mentors themselves. Now, when I first started out with Super Rugby, I was paired up with Uyaku, and she would mentor me and what have you not. So now I then have younger referees that are mentor. So Lando mentorship, I pay the moment you become, with national panel, and within a national panel yet, there's a high performance group, which is the 6 contracted referees, the full-time referees, and then abanye are semi-contracted, and then abanye are not contracted at all. So the top 6 will be mentors to the younger referees. Likewise, with World Rugby, there'll be mentors that mentor the younger referees that are coming through at the international stage.
Okay. All right. We're coming to the end of our show. I don't know if Lloyd wants to say anything, but I want to play a quick game with you. JD, is there anything that you want to say, Lloyd, before I jump into this quick game? Or is there any question that you have? Not the closing yet.
Yeah,
not the closing yet. Not the
closing,
closing yet.
In closing, what I'll say, JD, is thanks, man. Thanks for availing yourself for your time, Namhlanje. Really appreciate it. I think we can have this conversation. I definitely want to have this conversation with you again. During this conversation, in my mind, I just had an image of us doing the podcast with you, a current player and a young player. Then like become Nandi on stage for a much longer time, maybe an hour, 2 hours. So the conversation doesn't die today. The conversation still lives on, which I think is something that needs to go on. I think Apunya Tilakona, carry on and keep on. I like hearing that you are mentoring. So it's lovely to hear that you're giving back. I'm sure there's a lot of aspiring young reps out there that will take a lot from this, and I'm sure are taking a lot from your mentoring. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate what you do on a Saturday in managing our emotions. I still need to hear the Bryce Lawrence story, so maybe that's a story we can have over a beer someday. I really need to hear the Bryce Lawrence story. I need to be set free because I'm still holding 2011 in my heart. But yeah, to be continued. But yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for your time, and We'd love to have you again on the show, and I look forward to having you again on the show. And keep doing what you're doing. People are watching you, and you're inspiring a lot of people. And goes going forward.
No, thanks so much, Lloyd. And I really appreciate the invite. And it's been invites to one of you guys' events. I think I've attended one or two, but years ago. So disafuna phinde ndize ndizoattenda ezinye.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's play this quick game. You've got 30 seconds. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You answer from the top of your head, and the first answer sticks, basically. Are you ready?
I think so.
3, 2, 1, go. Favorite food?
Pizza.
Favorite city?
Durban.
All-time favorite player? Rugby player.
Carlos Spencer.
Favorite team? Locally?
And I probably don't have one. But if I have to choose, Helderberg Rugby Club.
Same answer.
Current favorite player?
Oh, there's so many to pick from, man. I'll probably say Hachiva.
Your favorite best ref of all time?
I don't know if you remember a guy by the name of Jason Jafter.
Yes, I remember the name. I don't see a face.
Thank you, actually.
Jason Jafter. Wayemfitshane ngathi umntana.
I remember the name. I don't see a picture.
Yeah. No, he was a brilliant referee with Jason. Brilliant.
What about the guy before Maurice Jonker? Is it Watson? Don Watson.
Well, Andre Watson.
Yeah, he was flipping brilliant. But anyhow,
yeah. Okay. No, on my side, thank you very much, Sadie. I really appreciate you taking the time of your calendar to be with us. But definitely, we'll definitely invite you when we have another activation of Ubumba and you around. We hope to obviously have another chat with you. We are or we will be launching a podcast soon. So hopefully we can have you on the podcast as well. But,
this is the halfway step to the podcast.
Leading to the podcast. And thanks to our audience for joining in. I hope you did enjoy that chat with Cwengile Jadezweni. He's national ref for South Africa. He's on the national panel. And obviously the Petino Myomo, if you are aspiring to be a referee, this is your live. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks guys. Bye.